Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching this with us. Thanks for joining us again for the Symphonic Marketing Department's Masterclass series. As you know, if you've been a part of the live stream conversation so far, that's our focus for this part of the series. Live streaming platforms, best practices, what you can do with that fan engagement tactic to really increase the relationship you've got with your fans and really build a very strong community around your art. We all know how crucial it is to the conversation now, and ever increasingly more crucial while we're here in the pandemic. But we all believe that on the other side of this, it's still going to be a really, really important tool to engaging and building your community. So that is our focus for this part of the series. We've had some really terrific partners, and I want to first just say thank you. We're so grateful for everybody that's participated so far and shared such killer insight on their platforms. And now that we've gotten some really good ideas from so many different options, the various solutions that you can use for the various stages of your career, we wanted to bring somebody into the conversation who has a very unique perspective on things and just kind of help us wrap everything we've learned so far and touch on a few platforms we really haven't had a chance to dive into yet. And so with that, I would like to introduce and welcome Sarah Beth Perry, who is the founder and CEO of a platform called With the Band. Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
And so in just a few short years, Sarah has turned this idea into a fully operational fan engagement platform. She's created some really one-of-a-kind experiences for the likes of the Jonas Brothers and Casey Musgraves and tons of artists at various levels in their career leading up to that as well. And so the platform, which you're going to get a really cool sneak preview kind of test drive through with Sarah as part of today's class, is made up of a number of different tools for engaging your audience, right? Really forming a deep and meaningful relationship between you and your fans. And Sarah's going to touch on a bunch of them, but one of the ones we really wanted to focus on, of course, because of this series, is that live streaming piece. And it's one of the centerpieces of that sort of suite of tools that she's got baked in here. And so the live streaming and the interactive experiences, Sarah's had some really unique experiences with the artists on her platform, running primarily through YouTube and through Zoom. And we really haven't touched on those much at all yet. So that's great that we're going to get to today. And I wanted to bring Sarah because I wanted to have her share, a really unique perspective she has on sort of determining which platform is right for you and when, based on where you're at in your career. And so what we'll do is we'll run through that idea first for a little bit here with Sarah, and then let her show us the platform as well. And then we'll do some Q&A at the end if there's things that she hasn't touched on that I know you all often ask us about these platforms. And then also, of course, as we have been doing so far, please comment below if you have additional questions that we don't answer through this. And we'll bring Sarah back to do a sort of post-op debrief and answer any questions that we've kind of left open. So with that, I will turn to you, Sarah. Thanks a lot.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat today about, all the things you just mentioned and really try to help, all these artists and their teams figure out what is the best for them, because that's really what we do with a lot of our artist teams too. We're very much first starting out with the problem and what is the best solution, even if that's not us. Like, we want to help you find that. And so I'm excited to talk about, the difference between some of these live stream platforms and really what is right for each individual artist. And so first, I just wanted to give, some background on kind of us and what we have done and kind of why it makes us credible to be talking about it. And so previously, before COVID, we had an app that enabled fans and artists to create and participate in these fan projects and fan activations. And so fans were creating these fan projects all over the world. And then we started partnering with artist teams to help them basically execute what the fans are trying to do in groups of, 10 or 20 on an arena size scale. And so the first big activation we did was at the Jonas Brothers concert. And this was super fun. We ended up passing out 16,000 signs that said, "Thank you for coming back to us." And this was during the last Jonas Brothers, it was like the reunion tour. They had a song called "Come Back," and on the back it had instructions for each fan to hold it up during their song "Come Back." Just went like way better than we ever expected it to go. All of the brothers were like crying on stage, gotten written up by like BuzzFeed, Pop Culture, all these big press outlets. And so we really realized that we had kind of hit a home run there. And this is really where we needed to continue to grow. And from that, we ended up getting connected to a lot of other artists teams. And the next one we ended up working with was Casey Musgraves and her team. And surprisingly, this was right after, she just won, like, swept the Grammys and won every award. And this was her first sold out, like, headlining show for an arena. And this was in Nashville, which was just a cool moment to bring it back home. And we ended up creating this awesome rainbow during her song Rainbow. And so you can kind of see right here, you can see this little piece of paper, and depending on where the fan was sitting, they got a different color, and it had instructions to put up to your phone flashlight like this girl's doing. And that's what created this marvelous sea of rainbow lights. And so what we had kind of, thanks, yeah, what we had kind of seen was, there are similar things that you've maybe seen at a concert, like the light up bracelets, but they are super expensive, like around $3 per fan. And plus, there's no like fan ownership. And we really found when executing these projects, fans like feel like they created it, even though it's like very little effort on their part. But it's super cool to just, even like Nick Jonas posted about the first one, go back on his Instagram to read the comments, and fans are always like, I'm so honored, like I got to be a part of this, like I got to give back to them what they've given to me. And so we were having a lot of fun doing these. And then, of course, COVID hit. And so we were kind of back to square one on trying to figure out, well, how can we serve these artist teams and serve these fans better? And it was interesting. And it was like the end of March, beginning of April. We had already, been in contact with all these artist teams, and I had some of them emailing me like, hey, Sarah Beth, what do we do besides Instagram Live? Because that's, all anyone was doing in March and April. And so that really set me out on a research mission to figure out what are the different strategies that these artist teams could use right now. And so I really evaluated what every artist was doing, what they were not doing, and all the platforms and strategies that were out there. And so what I saw was this was actually one thing the Jonas Brothers did. And they created basically these Zoom rooms, and fans just, emailed in a Zoom link if it was all centered around a concert documentary that came out, I believe is on Amazon Prime. And they told their fans, have a watch party and we might join your Zoom room. And so they're very much piecing together these individual tools. And so that's really what we saw is, there are so many platforms now. And so it's really trying to evaluate, which one is good for you. And also, we realize it really comes down to what your goal is at an artist in this point in time, whether you're at the very beginning of your career and you're just trying to create fans, or whether you're to that time where you can really highly monetize your fans. And so I was really evaluating all these platforms and really seeing that. And I think we all saw the big gap in revenue that just, completely plummeted from COVID. And so what we ended up doing was getting together. It was basically a group of like 15 different managers, and had them as our focus group for the past year, and ended up creating this new platform that's both web and app based that enables an artist to create their own fan crew, which is our modern day version of a fan club. And so we really saw the gap was for these like smaller artists, there's Memberful, and there is Patreon. There's definitely like some flaws with it, some good things about it as well. But we really felt like there was a really big gap between these like medium to larger size artists where they had a newsletter or they had like a completely customized app, and there was nothing in between. And then we built out the tool mainly for them. And then surprisingly, in the past few months, I really realized how, talking with some people who have used Patreon, how there really is a big disconnect for artists and just the ability to like upload demos or like to upload photos without using a third party thing. And so we're finding way more than I initially thought of people wanting to switch from Patreon to with the band. So we definitely built this with artists in mind, knowing that, they're going to want to post audio more than, a writer who writes for, the New York Times. And so we really have those specific tools built out. And so really where the live stream comes in is it is a part of these fan crew memberships. And so the way that works, just kind of giving you a little backstory, is for the artist, it's completely free to start it up. And then the fan pays a monthly membership fee for that fan crew. And really where that comes in for live streaming is the artist gets to choose what benefits they offer to their fans. So they could solely offer live streaming as the only benefit to that fan crew, or they could also post exclusive content like photos and videos. They could do polls, or fans could vote on the next album artwork. You can really get super creative on what type of content, and really at the end of this, like what type of community you're building in your fan base. And so the main tools that we use with this are YouTube Live and Zoom. And so we definitely, like, you mentioned, we built out this new platform within this past year. And so we wanted to make sure to, get it up as quickly as possible, but also what is going to work the best for artist teams right now. And we really found that there was kind of two different types of interactions that they were wanting to do via live stream. And that was doing performances, or that was doing things kind of like more private hangouts through Zoom. And so that's why we specifically built in these two features. So they could do something like the live stream and still have fan engagement, fan interaction, or they could do something that's super intimate if they wanted to create like a high tier membership where they did a monthly hang with, their top fans. They really have the ability to do that, or create a listening party. And so that's why we chose these two specifically, and why I wanted to kind of dive deeper into why we decide to use one over the other. And so for YouTube Live versus Zoom, I'm talking about these first, and then I'll kind of address all in general how to decide a live stream platform. But really, what it comes down to is the size of the audience, the amount of fan interaction you want to have, and the goal of that live stream. And really, after making this presentation, I realized it really all comes down to that goal, and that's the first thing you have to figure out. And that will help you make every decision about the live stream thereafter. And so whether that goal is
too, because we make that point all the time about the entire marketing campaign too, right?
Totally.
What is our end game? Start there, go backwards.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what we really saw is, and when we talk with artist teams, where we ask them what is their goal? Is it to like dramatically increase their social following? Is it to release a new album and do a promotion for that new album? Is it to get more streams specifically? You really want to try to get as detailed of a goal as possible. And then with that, for the size of the audience. So obviously, the smaller your audience is in that live stream, the more you'll be able to individually interact with them. And so whether you're doing, a smaller thing, that's a lot easier to do on Zoom than YouTube Live, or, if you're having an audience of like over 1,000, I wouldn't recommend doing just like a Zoom room. And so keep that in mind. And also with the fan interaction. So depending on the goal of the campaign, if you're actually live streaming a show, like a full on set, you might not care as much about that. But if you are doing something where, fans can request songs the entire time, then you're going to want to make sure that you have that piece in there where fans can comment which song they want next, or fans can talk to each other during the live stream as well. And yeah, then we kind of go in to how to pick the best live stream platform for you. And this kind of hits on some of the things I was just talking about of the campaign. And this is really the first thing you want to figure out. So what is that outcome? That's going to be the first kind of bullet point you want to write down. So whether that's, you want to just make money, that's totally a goal too. And you can use that to basically answer all these other questions. With the size of the audience too, those are kind of the two bullet points that only you are going to know. And then we kind of go into the tech side of things. So depending on the audience size, that's going to depend on the size of the room. And like Zoom, for instance, so you have to upgrade room size. I believe it's after 100 is when you have to upgrade. And so taking that into consideration. And then even things like the equipment. So we always say to use like a professional mic, unless it is like literally selfie video. I'm setting it down on my couch, super, not paid, not ticketed, just super chill live stream. That's the only kind of thing we say not to use like professional equipment for. And then there's also so many helpful tools out there. One I wanted to mention was Restream, especially when you're talking about having multiple people. The best thing too, I know for doing bands who unfortunately are not in the same place, which trust I've been very surprised when building out this platform how many platforms were built for one artist and not for bands. It's been very surprising, but this Restream's a good way to help pull in people from different places, which is great. And then also the ticketing and fee structure. So whether you are again going back to your goal, are you wanting to make a lot of money? If so, you want to sell tickets. Well, for that, kind of the best thing between YouTube and Zoom, if you're not using with the band, will be to use Zoom and do that all through your own artist website. So then you're not having to give anyone a fee percentage. But also if you're, trying to grow your audience, then maybe doing a YouTube live stream where fans can tip you. If you're used to playing like on Broadway in Nashville, and that's how fans are used to paying you, that could be a good option for you too.
Before you leave this one, I think it's also it's super important. These are a lot of the questions we get when we're talking about this, right? And you position them in a really good way. It also, I think, is crucial to convey all of this properly when you are promoting this thing too, right? Like I was in I bought tickets for my children for this big live stream event that was positioned very much as an interactive experience, but there were 900 people in the Zoom room, right? There were 7 folks throughout it that got picked to be part of the interaction from 900 options. Now, the expectation up front was very different than what actually came through. And that can be true of the tech end of things. Is it going to be just me and my camera, or am I getting a full show? So when you're thinking these things out, and if you get into this later and I'm stealing your thunder, I apologize. When you're thinking these things out, always make sure that whatever the messaging you're conveying up front makes this very clear to your target, to your recipient, to your fan.
Totally. Yeah. And you definitely, want to be super honest about that, because you don't want, that situation of fans are upset because they felt like they were promised something else. And really kind of a simple way to think about that is supply and demand. So, are they wanting a super intimate experience? And if so, you're going to be able to charge them more for that. And so, depending on the goal, maybe it is 2 separate experiences where you are doing a higher price, super intimate experience, and you're doing one that's maybe a free, just, with tips, trying to grow your fan base, and you're going to get more fans through that. So I totally agree with that. Awesome. And then this is one thing that I don't know exactly, where you specifically as an artist stand in this, but this is one thing that we always find helpful and that I teach to artist teams a lot, is you should be curating all this around your fan audience. And so we really start from the very beginning asking, so what is your average fan's age and gender? So when thinking of, let's just say, we'll just say the Jonas Brothers since we've worked with them. So the average fan age and gender, it's going to be a female who's, probably a young adult, most likely in their 20s since they used to be a fan when they were a kid. And how tech savvy are they? So they're used to using social media. They know how to use a platform. And then you can say, so what are the other fans' interests? And so this really helps when you're talking about partnerships or potential sponsorships. And even one thing that like we do too when we're working for artist teams, if you already have a sponsorship with a brand, that's a perfect opportunity to go back to them and say, hey, we're doing this event. Like, what do you want to sponsor it? And that can give you additional income from the live stream. But, specifically for the Jonas Brothers, we're thinking, okay, what else do these fans like? Well, do they watch like e-news maybe? Do they also, they have a Spotify account? Really kind of go through what is their average day and what brands are they interacting with? And that's really helpful. What other artists does this fan listen to? So are you friends with someone who maybe has a lot of the same fans? Could they come and do, a cover surprise with you? Or could they, just do a super simple interaction with your fans on your live stream to bring in more fans? And then we look at where, your average fan spends the most time. And this is the biggest piece when talking about marketing. So if you have an older audience, you're going to want to spend almost all your time on Facebook. But if you have marketing your live stream, but if you have a younger audience, especially like Gen Z, well, then you need to be posting videos on TikTok about it. You need to be posting it on Instagram. And so this is the biggest portion when we're trying to figure out how to market an event. That is what you really need to pay attention to, is where your fans spend the most time, and you're going to do your marketing there. And then also in person, I know this doesn't matter as much in COVID times, but as we're getting out of it, where in person does your fans spend the most time. So if it is like one of the local national artists, I love the Brummies. So like if they were advertising something, doing it at like advertising at your local like Frothy Monkey or coffee shop would be a great place for a band like that. And also, where does this fan live? So this becomes really important, especially if your fans are kind of all over the place and you want to make sure that your time zones are lining up with where your fans are. So you have a lot of fans in like London, you don't want to be doing it at 8 p.m., sometime in the US. And so we've seen, especially for international artists, usually this like noon to 2 p.m. range is popular, but if you're mostly just US fans, feel free to do it later in the day, but pay attention to that.
Is there this one comes up a bunch. Is there a day of the week? And I know that changes. It used to be, I was talking to one of the folks that joined us for this. It used to be put these on Tuesday because Friday you want them to be out at your show. Well, they're not out at your show anymore. So
Yeah.
on Fridays and Saturday nights now, like it certainly has changed, but have you found your sweet spot there for what day of the week is the best?
We definitely pay more attention to like the individual artist and looking at their current analytics. So look at your analytics on all the social platforms you use and analyze that the most. We've definitely seen more like nights to be popular. We're not doing as like many during the day, but there hasn't been necessarily a certain day that has been like most popular. Yeah. And we've seen too for like bigger fan bases when they do have a larger audience, it's usually on a Saturday because of the time zone thing. So if you do have to worry about time zones, say in New York, LA, and London, you're gonna have to do it on a weekend. So everyone has off for work.
Yeah.
So that's like another thing you kind of have to think about. And then regarding the marketing of the live stream, sorry, these little arrows are covering it a bit. So the first question, so how well does the platform integrate in your socials? And with this, it really comes down again to like what that goal is. And if you are wanting to do a paid, like a ticketed live stream where you're going to need to make sure to post like what price are you setting that, where can they buy the ticket? Make sure you have all the details in the post that a fan needs to be able to see the post, say, I want to buy a ticket. And within, a minute from that screen, they have the ability to purchase it. And it's an easy walkthrough. And depending on which platform you're using, they could purchase this through the actual platform itself if they already have a system set up for that. Or it can be, through your website if you're doing kind of more DIY with Zoom. You could set up an item in your store for a purchase of a live stream ticket and send out the Zoom link that way the day of the show. And with all this is one of our biggest values as a company, and something that I do not see enough artists doing is finding a way to capture your fans' data. And so this is just such an important thing, especially when you look at just how social media and how kind of the internet in general has evolved. And we're kind of seeing now, like TikTok's taking over. And I've heard this quote I feel like everyone's using now is like, Facebook's the new MySpace, Instagram's the new Facebook, and TikTok's the new Instagram. And so you have to make sure that that if a platform decided to shut down tomorrow, or if they shadow blocked your account or you got locked out, that you have another way to access those fans. And so depending on the platform you're doing, we recommend that you either get their email or their phone number. Zip code is another really big thing that we personally like to capture. but make sure you have somewhere where they are entering that data for you to keep. And then also, if you are ticketing, I feel like this is so important, especially when it's coming up to show day and you might be getting a little nervous. It's been found that with these ticketed live streams in the past year, more than 50% of the sales happen within 48 hours before the live stream. And so, with that in mind, like you need to be posting multiple times the day of. And even I wrote below here, it's 37% of fans buy the ticket the day of the event. So you don't need to be thinking, oh, it's the day of, like I shouldn't promote it anymore. Like that is what you should be hitting everyone up with it, just because, being real, no one has much to do right now. And so you can really purchase a ticket last minute. And there was also a really interesting article I was reading that brought up a really good point about live streams don't have a cap usually. And when thinking strategically about this, that is why fans bought tickets ahead of time, was because they were afraid it was going to sell out or they wanted to get up close. And now that there's no scarcity almost, the fans don't really have an incentive to sign up early. So if you want to create an incentive, whether that is, early bird ticket and that's $2 less or whatever, you can do that or find a specific incentive for them to purchase early if that's super important to you. And if not, just really heavily promote it within that 48 hours before. And we also saw, this was super interesting, a lot of independent venues are actually helping sell live stream tickets that they don't have any part of. And so what I would always recommend is obviously be on the newsletters of like your local venues. And if you see that they are doing these promotions of live streams, reach out and try to figure out if there is type of partnership opportunity. We're usually seeing that there's like a revenue share. What that is specifically, I'd have to look more into, but I recommend trying to reach out to see if that's possible.
Especially if they're going to add marketing visibility to you beforehand. We've seen such cool numbers from the folks we've talked to so far about how something like 98% of these tickets are actually used, right? Versus like an actual live show that you certainly have drop off of people that don't show up for it, right? Well, people are not going anywhere, as you say. So, if you can get that in front of more people, the more tickets you sell, you're really getting everybody in the door with these things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so, what I would recommend you as an artist to do first, you need to create that goal. And from that goal, you're really going to be able to figure out more of your plan, but you really have to have that set in stone goal before you can figure out any of the details thereafter. And so make that goal and then create your plan on filming, on technology, figure out what is the best platform for you. You really need to figure out most of those details before you even post your first thing, because you're going to need to have that link available. And it's been very interesting too, from a marketing standpoint, to see how, you think about pre-sale tickets, and some of these tickets were selling like a year before the actual show started. And with live streaming, that is not the case at all. We're actually seeing that we're seeing kind of max, you post once before you even send out the links to buy tickets. And so it is pretty immediate. So you want to have your plan already completely set up before you hit that, first post button. And then after, really market. Don't feel like you're annoying your fans. They don't have much to do. And if, they are following you or on your email list, they're going to want to know what you're up to. And so make sure that you're sending this out to your email list. You're posting in any like fan groups. If you have any like random fans who've created groups for you on Facebook, or fan accounts too, like send them the link to it and ask them to post it. We found great partnerships with fan accounts through literally just messaging them. And so our kind of strategy is to never be afraid to send out a message. And you'd be really surprised how many people answer back. And then also make sure to collect that fan data. And with that, then you have the ability to follow up after the live stream, whether that's you want to send the links and you can send, here's this special merch release we did for the live stream. You can add that link in that email as well. or you can tell them about the new album that came out with a link to purchase. So it's really good for you to have in your system these fans who came, so you know they're interested in your music.
Before you leave this one,
Yeah.
with all of the partners that we've seen and all the different ways you can use a live stream, whether it's a daily thing or, once a month or leading up to an event that happens twice a year. These step 1, 2, and 3 seem super important, that whatever your plan is in step 1, step 2, and step 3 are applicable all down the board, right?
Yeah.
If you're creating a goal that is every week I'm going to do a Thursday live stream, still market the heck out of it, right? And still collect as much data from each of those as you can, because every single one of those is just a feeder to whatever larger thing you're doing down the line.
Yes,
So
definitely.
definitely love these 3. This is great.
Yeah. And these two, we even use these within our like live in-person fan activations. It's the same thing of trying to figure out what is that goal and then creating, that idea and, marketing it. And so it really does. It's nice that and even those going back to that kind of like fan worksheet, that applies to everything. You can use that to help you find new sponsors, to help you find like new ideas for a campaign launch. It's really kind of helpful to have. And we do that with all of the artists we work with, is we know specifically who that fan is. And that helps so much when trying to create these kind of out of the box ideas.
That's so great.
Yeah. And then if you have any questions about, how to pick this live stream, I know you're saying we're going to answer some too, which is awesome. Feel free to email me. And then I'll also show y'all a sneak peek to the platform, if that sounds good.
Yeah.
I know I need a switch. Here we go.
So while Sarah's flipping these over, one of the things to just note throughout all these conversations that we've had about all these different ways that you can engage your audience with this stuff. We talk all the time about marketing drivers here at Symphonic and what you all can give my team to try to make more noise about the releases with our DSP partners. This is a huge marketing driver. This building of a community, this gathering of data, this, hey, I've done a live stream every week for the last 2 months because I'm doing a large live stream for my album premiere. Being able to share that and saying I've collected 4,000 emails from those experiences just really does help us sell things. So it's all tied together, guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, here is the sneak peek of our brand new fan crew platform. So like I kind of mentioned earlier, it is web and app based. We do have both an Apple and Android app coming out with it. And so we basically wanted to make it super customized for each artist. And so the artist actually has the ability to change everything you see on this page. So they can change the logo, they can change the header, all of the different colors. And it actually works similar to Slack in the way that you can create channels and you can turn on or off whether fans have the ability to post in these channels or not. And so the biggest thing that we found when researching all the different platforms was the lack of fan interaction between each other. And that, even when we started doing our initial fan research 2 years ago to figure out, how we were going to create these fan activations, the biggest thing they wanted was a community. And that's really what we're super excited to kind of bring back, the community of fan bases, bring back that old like fan club model feel where you meet your college roommate in the forum, on MySpace or whatever. We're trying to bring that back into the fan crew version. And so you can see that fans have the ability to post polls. They can create the different live streams. They can post photos, videos. And so it's super easy for them, just kind of like any other social feed to post. And then where I really get excited about it is the artist admin side. And so this is what I think is going to be super empowering for artist teams, is you actually have data on your fans, which is really nice. When we, did our research, it was really surprising how many tools were charging artists and then felt like not giving anything in return. And so we really wanted to empower the artists by giving them that data, giving them the knowledge to help them improve and generate revenue off their fan base. And so here you can see the gross revenue per day, or you can, toggle between the time period to see how much money you're actually making. Like I said before, it's completely free to start out for artists. And then once a fan purchases a membership, The artist directly gets 70% of that, and we deal with all the live stream fees, everything that goes into operating this. And then we, with the band, ends up taking like 10%. And so this is exactly how much you'll receive your check for, which is super nice. It's all synced up with Stripe and Apple, so it's super up to date, which is nice. You can see where your fans are. So once shows do come back, it can help you plan tours or different large fan activations. And you can see how many fans are in each tier. And with the tiers, it is still completely customizable. So you could make one tier or you could make 5 tiers. It's however many you want. And I'm excited to see too this really an action of the activity level. And so you can see the amount of responses versus the amount of posts that fans have created within your fan crew. And so if you look out, from a year, you'll be able to see, oh, well, that post did the best this year. We need to create content more like that. Or out of all the 3 singles, this was the one that the fans talked about the most. Which is super great information for you to figure out, how to widely promote it.
Bouncing back to the tiers thing that you got here,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that? You'd said, like maybe you have a tier where all of the communication is wide open to everybody, but then to get the actual live streams, they're behind that wall of the higher tier, for example, right?
Yeah, totally. And so one of like the most kind of common structures we've seen is a 2-tier version where we're seeing kind of the lowest is usually like a $4.99. Everyone's pretty much comfortable with paying that fan wise. And that is the general like exclusive content that you're providing, whether that's you already, you took a photo shoot for the next album and you've posted 1 or 2 photos from it and you have like 50 others sitting on your hard drive. You can post 5 of those there. Or it's, just it could be a super casual live stream video of you in your living room, just singing to your phone. It can really be super easy and not as much time as you would think to create a fan crew. And then for the second tier, what we're really seeing is doing this more high end, more intimate, just better access to the artist. And so we're seeing that these more intimate live streams through Zoom are working really well for a higher tier. And just depending on the artist, depends on that price. We've seen, some of these like medium-sized artists doing upwards of like $100, but we've also seen it if you're a smaller artist at like 10. And so you really, we honestly do a lot of hand holding with these artist teams to figure out what is the best pricing for them, because that does vary a lot.
So it's almost like, the wide open communications and community go to everyone, which is that lowest tier. The live stream goes to that second tier who are paying a little bit more per month. And then that third tier is getting your, one-on-one fan engagement afterward, the after party, the invite only,
Yeah.
20 people make it from the highest tier kind of thing. Such a
Yeah,
cool idea.
totally.
For sure.
Thanks. Yeah. And you get to customize all of that. So whether that's, we're seeing the artists who we feel like do the best actually have like usually more interest than like just music. And so whether that's they really also like gaming or they like cooking or going on walks with their dog, there's a way to work those as benefits in your fan crew, which I know sounds insane. But we're even seeing, like artists doing a once a month cooking Zooms with their like top tier fans, and they can send out like their favorite spaghetti recipe and fans can cook along. There's super simple things like that are super outside the box that you as an artist might not think are a benefit, but the fan sees so much value in that.
Good
And
stuff.
then thanks. Yeah. And we want to make it super simple. There is just one URL the artist actually has to go to, and here's where they can post all those videos, photos, schedule the live streams, polls. This is where you decide, which tier you are sending that to. So if it was a live stream for an upper tier, you just check the highest tier. And this is something that a specific manager kind of in our focus group pointed out, that they were using community, the texting phone numbers, and they were seeing that they wanted to basically use their intern to help promote this artist's new single that they were sending to radio. And so they wanted to put in just to send this post to fans in Nashville or to Milwaukee. And they can say like, hey, everyone in Nashville, call into 107.5 The River and ask for them to play this new single. And so it really gives you as an artist a better way to empower your fans to really help you promote your music, which is a lot of fun.
And so
Uh,
you've got a live stream in there. You can choose the access level based on your tiers, but also the access level based on geography of a live stream specifically, right?
yeah, you totally could.
So this is like how you go on tour, right? You pick
Yeah.
12 cities that are your highest fan bases, and you do a live stream only to that city, and it's different at each city. And you can only get in there if you're at a certain tier and you're in a certain geo. It's such a cool idea.
Yeah.
It's a great way to
Thanks.
build it out.
Yeah, and you can actually decide whether you click this button. That actually sends fans a push notification. So speaking to that marketing point, with us specifically on kind of the whole platform in general, but also regarding live streams, we definitely think of it more long term, where we didn't want like a one off purchase. We wanted to be able to provide consistent revenue for the artist. And so that's why we have this kind of monthly membership model. But yeah, this gives you the ability to, if you are wanting to do city specific live streams, that would be awesome. Yeah. You have a question?
I did, but I wasn't sure if you were done yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we talked a little bit about what platform's right for you, and then this with the
Hmm.
band platform as kind of its own entity. What is the sweet spot? You and I talked a bit, and it's a little bit larger artist than typical, who really has the opportunity to build a large community and can use this
Hmm.
platform to the tops of what it can do. What
Yeah.
would you say is sort of the sweet spot for an artist coming in here? What are you looking for in terms
Yeah,
of following, streams, monthly listeners on a particular
totally.
streaming platform?
S- So we, as of right now, kind of the lowest artists we're working with are like right in the like 40K following on Instagram range. We're working, with artists way higher than that as well. But what we've really found is it doesn't almost matter as much of following; it's about engagement. And so we really look at when we're deciding whether or not to work with an artist, how many likes versus how many followers are they having on these posts. And if that number is way out of whack, then uh, for engagement, if it's like way higher, awesome. There's some artists we're talking with now who are a little bit lower than that point, but their engagement's higher than some people who have like 250,000 followers. And so it's really about that engagement piece, and how many people are liking, are commenting on your post. And so we say around like 40 to 50K. We're seeing usually more than like 1,000 likes a photo is kind of the sweet spot for that like lowest level artist that this works well for, because we also don't want to like waste an artist's time. Like if they're going to put in more time than money they're getting back, we know that it's not a good fit for them. And we don't want to, force them to do any of that. So that's kind of why we have that threshold there.
Super, super interesting. I wanted to ask you back kind of on your last thought when you had that slide up with all the different platforms that you were reviewing at once, right? That
Yeah.
this kind of helps integrate together. I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But
No, you're good.
the conversation we always have is how we can't be on every single social platform, but we should be on as
Totally.
many as we are comfortable being on, because there's an audience
Hmm.
for you there. And tapping into that audience, or having a social team around you that can tap into that audience for you. Maybe you have one that is your absolute genuine platform that is you live, really. And the rest is a little bit more marketing and a little bit more syndicated from those platforms. With
Hmm.
all the different options out there, do you think it's the same as that conversation for live stream, or do you think it's better off to like pick one you're really good at, you really love, you know how to
Mm.
operate on, and just always hammer that platform?
I kind of think it's almost an in between. I think that you should always have one platform that would be free live streaming for fans that you feel comfortable and confident on. And I think you should find one that's paid. And so whether that is the same platform or not, I think will depend on the person and what they're using it for. I don't think at all you have to use all of them. I think you really should find what are maybe like the top two for you and really use those consistently, because you do have to think like fans obviously don't want to download every single app or go to every single website, and to be able to find companies that you really believe in. Know that like if you had an error or you needed help, you could contact someone at the company. I think those are really the most important things right now when trying to decide between, the million new platforms that came out this year, what is going to be right for you.
It's great insight. We are going to have you back to dive more deeply into just the With the Band platform and well outside of the reach of the live streams and everything in our next Masterclass series, which will focus on other fan engagement tools beyond just this live stream. Because once we kind of go back to that actual live performance world, these fan engagement tools are still there and they're still super essential. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for your time today. All super good insights. We will put the With the Band URL in the comments here for everybody, but you can see it there too. Go and dig in, do some research, see if it's right for you. And Sarah, can't thank you enough for all of your insights.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thanks for attending, y'all.